Hey folks, welcome to another Ask Us Anything call with LifterLMS. I am with Magic Emily Middleton, who has a wonderful piece of artwork behind her on the wall. I remember when someone said, "Oh, you just got home and someone vandalized your house." That was one of my most fun. That was one of my most fun company meeting calls. Um, and I, of course, am Kurt Von Onen. We'll be here for the next, hour or so, answering questions live from people that want to learn more about Lifter LMS or integrating Lifter LMS with, existing WordPress tools and things like that. I can see that the live viewer count is beginning to climb, so I want to encourage you. If you're used to coming here and you've already done it before, then I just want to encourage you to do it again, right? Put your questions into the chat, whatever channel you're watching on: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, whatever. We're kind of putting this thing out everywhere. And if you put a comment in, we'll see it and we'll be able to, assist you, screen shares, discussions, whatever. The other thing is, you can get your Lifter LMS 55% off coupon by going directly to lifterlms.com/AMA-gift, lifterlms.com /AMA-gift. I don't know why I just had a hiccup there, but I did. I had a strange mental hiccup. Gary, welcome. It's good to see you again. He says, "Good morning from Winnipeg. It is -17. And so whenever I see a Canadian say it's -17, I have to wonder, like, in Fahrenheit, is that like -36 or -42? Or are you trying to be nice to us Americans and just give us a Fahrenheit? You say, time for the barbecues to come back out. I should pull up the picture. I used my smoker in a snowdrift last month, and it was a pretty popular picture. Everyone kind of liked that. Here we go. Good morning from Merritt. There it is, +3. And I believe that Delphine is also in Canada. So +3 could be 9 or 12 degrees or something. I don't know. That Celsius is an elusive tale for me. And Amelia, welcome. Welcome very much, Amelia, to the call. Folks, again, if you are coming to the call, check in with us. Put a comment in, let us know who you are, where you're from. And then, of course, if you have any questions, you want to put your questions into the chat so we can jump in with that. I did something today. I do a live on Thursdays now, Emily. I don't know if you're aware of that, but I do a live for Manana No Mas on Thursdays. And today, so I try to offset them. I try and do like a technical one and then a leadership one, a technical one and a communication one, a technical one and a whatever. Like I try and have a different core topic each week. And this week I had, why every company could benefit from a learning management system. And I didn't think it was going to go that long. Like I had an idea. I knew I was going to share the Power Sport Academy website as the example. I was going to do screen shares and I was going to talk about why I think every business could really benefit from a learning management system. But before I knew it, I was 45 minutes into the talk and demo. It was like, obviously I'm pretty impassioned about the topic, but there's a lot of companies that look at a learning management system as a boat anchor, as an expense, as a necessary evil, as this, requirement that, some government organization makes them have for some crazy reason. And what I try to get people to do, and I do this with my power sports training too, is I try to flip the script a little bit. I try to say, well, what if you changed your perception and you knew that you could leverage training as a marketing tool? If you knew that your training, the quality of your training became part of your quality branding exercise, the value of the training goes up exponentially. And so there's a difference in a company when we're talking about companies and organizations. There's a difference between branding and marketing, and there's a difference between marketing and sales. And I think a lot of people, and this could even go down to the course creator mindset, if we really drove this down, there's a difference between branding and marketing. There's a difference between marketing and sales, right? And so a lot of people feel like the course is directly related to sales in some way, but I feel like in a corporate setting, the training is more related to branding and marketing. And I think that because I have this skewed perception from the mainstream in that space, I think sometimes I see the value of training that other organizations might not. And then from a course creator standpoint, it goes back to our minimal viable product conversation. So I'm just trying to take this whole thing full circle. A lot of folks are so focused on all this technology and all this stuff and the learning management, and they treat it like that's the product when they really should be focused on sales. And then sales is what elevates the ability to make the really quality product. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what do we have here? Mine is, oh, that's right, because zero is freezing in Celsius. So 0 is freezing and 100 is boiling, and we're 32 is freezing and 212 is boiling. So yeah, I had my math all backwards, Gary. Gary, you are a genius. Thank you for bringing that to me. So 17 is minus 17 is still 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Awesome. So just for reference, that's how cold Kansas was this morning. Kansas was 1 degree. Emily, were you? You're in Minnesota. What was it, like -6 up there?
Let's see. It was in Fahrenheit. Right now it's plus 15, but last night it was -3 Fahrenheit. So yeah.
Dang.
About the same.
What do you have? 17 is plus minus 17C plus. Oh, yeah. She just wrote it separately. Minus. Yeah, I'm getting all distracted. I'm sorry. My ADHD is really taking over on this. Okay. So what do you think about my thoughts on talking about branding, marketing, training? Do you think I'm crazy?
No, I think it's good for people to go through that, to think about how they're structuring their images, how they're structuring their copy on their website, the brand voice, the brand feel, all that kind of stuff plays into your ability to sell the products. I think like at this very inception of a business, sometimes we don't always know what the branding is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
It's like what kind of branding is going to resonate with your users might not be completely clear. I know like Groundhog is a popular brand in WordPress that just did a massive rebrand with like this wild font, heavy contrast. It's very camp, and I'm not a fan of that rebrand, but they're trying to appeal to maybe a certain audience, and I'm not sure how well it's going for them. But I think having a strong brand is good. But it's not always obvious from the beginning what that's supposed to be.
I saw the rebrand come out, and this is weird because it's I don't feel like we're not the Siskel and Eberts of the internet, right? You and I are not critics in that way, but your description hit me right in the feels, and this is where I still have an active Groundhog account, and I have an active Fluent CRM account, and when I'm presenting to clients, these are equitable products. They're expensive. Like it's not some free thing off the repository, right? You got to pay for this thing, and you got to pay a lot. And it's cheaper than Active Campaign, but I'm trying to be like real, right? Like it's a real thing, and it looks kind of cartoonish now. And for a corporate client, I can't tell them, oh, I'm going to put this cartoonish thing into your website. Like I'm going to go with Fluent because it just has that more professional look and feel. It's to me like that. Have you ever seen that really simple scheduling?
Yeah. Yep.
And it like takes over the back end of your website, and it looks a little bit like a cartoon. It's that same thing for me. It's like I'll just use the event calendar. I don't want to put all this stuff in the back of somebody's website. But it's different for end users. End users might really love the look and the feel and the playfulness of it, right? And so sometimes I have to put myself back in that perspective of, is this a B2B? Is this a B2C? You really got to walk through all that branding stuff, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. That's interesting that Groundhog has a more B2C brand feel. And so Um, yeah, it's
Well, it was interesting to kind of bring that stuff up. It was as I was doing the live, like I said, when I did the live today, I got caught up in it, and then time just ticked on by, and I was like, oh my goodness, I got to end this thing. Um, but it was, to me, it was interesting topic, and I've already had some decent feedback on it. So the next thing I want to bring up is, it's a question. If you sign up for this show ahead of time, you have the ability to ask a question in advance. So again, I want to encourage people, put your questions into the chat and we can get to you, with the time we have allotted. But right now, we've got one from Retha. Now, Retha had two other questions in the spreadsheet, and this is one where I really want to take a moment and brag on Emily for a heartbeat. The question said, I'm not technical. I'm using SkyPilot and I am struggling to build my homepage, and the instructions aren't making sense to me. And then the next question was, please disregard my earlier question. Using a tutorial that Emily had made, was able to knock it out of the park, and talked about the excellence of the tutorial that Emily had made. So I just want to put that out there. I became a client of LifterLMS a decade ago. And I think about, what was that experience like? Out of the 140 LMSs I was looking at the time, because I was a corporate employee that was shopping for an LMS. It's like, okay, so here's Moodle, here's LearnUpon, here's Bridge, here's, all these things. And then I sent a question to help@lifterlms.com, and Chris Badgett answered it. And I was like, that's weird. Doesn't he own it? And then I did some research. I was like, oh, crud. The customer service and the support at Lifter has always been what's attracted me. And now here I am 10 years later doing support myself on the same team. It's a really, really great deal. So Retha has a third question. And that third question was, I published a course on website A, but I'm now moving to website B. Should I move the course to website B, duplicate it, or? And this to me is an interesting question, because it's not the first time. First off, we have a knowledge base at LifterLMS.com. So if you can't wait for a Thursday call to answer your question, you can go to the knowledge base and search it up. But our courses are able to be exported and imported from one site to another. So that's a really good way to go. But I wanted to kind of put it to Emily and see if do you think this merits a screen share, or do you think just talking about it is enough?
Yeah, I think it can merit a screen share. I think, especially for new users to the platform, all of the intricacies of the back end are sometimes a little intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so exporting a course from site A and moving it to site B, it is as simple as an import-export process. So if we go to the courses area here on the left, and we hover over any of our courses, one of our options is export. So we'll click on that export option. It'll download a JSON file to our computer, and then it's usually a pretty lightweight file. Depending on how many lessons you have in your course, that could take like a minute or two to get that file onto your computer. And then on your second website, you'll go to LifterLMS import, and then upload that file that you just downloaded, and then that will be in your website as a copy of the course from the first website. It'll import your attachments, like your images. It'll import quizzes, assignments, anything you had on that original course will come over to your second website.
And it sets up the access plan too. So that's something to pay attention to. If you were going to have it free on one site and charge $50 on the second site, or you're doing some kind of A/B testing, you want to make sure you adjust your access plan for the payment structure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for running that through.
Of course.
Leanna joined the call. First off, welcome to the call, Leanna. And there's a couple of things coming up here in chat with Leanna. She says, nice to meet you. So obviously it's nice to meet you too, Leanna. We use Lifter to develop educational programs. We have a question regarding the start button at the end of the lesson and post-test. Can Lifter provide a feature that allows this button to redirect to other lessons rather than restarting the post-test? I'm kind of confused because it seems like if we're at the end of the post test and it's done, I think what they're seeing is you can go back to the course or you can retake the test, right?
Yeah. Um, at the end of the lesson, a post test can lift or provide a feature that allows the button to redirect to other lessons rather than restarting the post test. Yeah, let's take a look at that. That might mean when you complete a quiz, um, should take you to the next lesson automatically.
And she's with us live here, so she says yes.
Okay.
And so if you have your quiz set up to allow multiple attempts, it's going to allow them to restart the quiz to try to get a better score.
Yeah, let's see if we jump in our screen share. What is LifterLMS? I'll put a quiz here. Jump into the builder. Add quiz, create quiz.
And I'm going to pull that question down just because it's taken up so much space.
All right. So, yes, that is
Test, publish, go.
test publish. It should send me to LifterLMS, the next lesson. So I've got my take quiz button. Start quiz. If I pass the quiz, takes me to my results screen to review my answers, but then it's start quiz or next lesson. So I can move on to lesson 2. So I'm not completely sure. Start button at the end of the lesson and post test. Can Lifter provide a feature that allows this button to redirect to other lessons rather than restarting the test? Well, it's got the next lesson and the restart quiz button.
Yeah, if you limit the attempts to 1 attempt, doesn't the start quiz button go away?
Yeah, that one. If I go back.
Yeah, so if you limit the attempts, you're not going to see a start button again, right? Because you've limited the attempts. But then the what am I trying to say? You'll see the next lesson button still presented.
Yeah. And so next lesson is all that will be there.
Yeah, you're unable to take this quiz. So by reducing the attempts, you don't get the start quiz button again. That might make it a little more clear. The other question was, and again, this is from Leanna. It says, could Lifter create a feature that allows the learner to return to the home page of the course anytime throughout the course? And by default, I was under the impression that link was always at the top of each lesson.
Yeah, yep. That should be there, depending on your theme.
True. Some themes might take that piece of data out.
Like when you're on a quiz, it asks you to go back to the lesson if you want to on this link, and then back to course when you're viewing a lesson.
Yeah. Now, coincidentally, I've had a lot of clients ask me to remove that link.
Yeah.
Because it's by default it's there, and so I've had a lot of people ask me to take that out. But by default that is there, and so if your theme is removing that, I believe, is there a block that resets that?
I don't think that's a block yet. That's the Lifter Labs one. We could look at it. If we go to a lesson, and then maybe, I wonder if it's in the template yet. If we edit the lesson template, because I don't think it's in our content area. No, it's not in our content area. Let's see if it's in our editor. No, it's not something that is available to remove that way. It would have to be LifterLMS Labs to remove that. Yeah, Lifter Labs is a free plugin that lets you remove some intricate old items. So like, I could demo that for anyone who wants to remove that link. Like LifterLMS Labs. It's a free plugin you can find in the WordPress repo. And activate that. Once this is active on your website, you'll have a new option under LifterLMS. Should be near the bottom. So we'll go to LifterLMS Labs, and then the one that will remove that feature for you is the Action Manager. These are some experimental LifterLMS features that were produced like 8 years ago and are still sometimes useful. Like if you want to remove the back to course link, we'll check that box, save it, and then when we are looking at our lesson, should be gone. So that back to course link is gone.
I am shocked at how many times a week I recommend installing LifterLMS Labs to somebody. You know, whether it's a Facebook comment, something on X, or, you know, an email through my agency, it's always like, nope, there's a tool for that. Like, do I need custom CSS for this or for that? I'm like, slow down. See if you can install LifterLMS Labs and see if you get your result that you're looking for, because it is so much easier than trying to do things another way.
Yeah. But I'm looking at Leanna's question originally, start button redirecting somewhere else. There's not a way to change where that button redirects to. And unfortunately, you can't add buttons to the quiz page. So I'd be curious a little more about the use case of that. Like, why are we trying to go or redirect to a different lesson? Is the next lesson not suitable for the use case? I'm curious about that.
And the workaround would be the next lesson would have a button or a link that went somewhere else in your site, if that's what you're trying to get people to get to.
Yeah.
Nice. So if Leanne is still with us and she wants to kind of clarify the use case, maybe we can dive in a little bit deeper there. David's got a couple of questions for us. I want to hit the one that is more content worthy and less process, right? So David says, when selling a group access plan in Lifter e-commerce. So pretty important to recognize this is not a WooCommerce website. This is using the LifterLMS native payment gateway and selling groups through the group's e-commerce setup in the access plan. It says, is there a way to apply automatic quantity discount? For example, quantity equals 10 or more, it applies a 10% discount. Above 30, it applies a 20% discount. I want to say yes, but the way that I did it was like setting the quantities and the discount in a separate access plan.
Yeah. That's probably the best way to do it. And then in that case, you could only have a limited up to 6 access plans. So per course or membership. Bless you. But per course or membership, you can only have 6 plans. So you would only have up to 6% discounts, which should be enough, you know. But yeah, I like the example Kurt used with 6 different access plans with different quantity discounts. We could show that if that would be useful too.
Yeah, it was one of the first things I thought of when that whole platform came out, was because a lot of people say, oh, but if I sell more than 25 seats, I want to give them 15% off or something. And so I was like, okay, well, if I set up the access plan to be 0 through 24 seats at this rate, and then I set up 25 through 50 seats at this rate, then that incorporates that discount, you know, and people can do the math. They can see it when they play with the quantities when they order. For people that are unaware, the group's e-commerce platform is like a paradigm shift for us in how we allow course creators to sell to organizations. For instance, I could have a course, I could have a ceramics course, and literally have ceramics studios around the country subscribe to that course and enroll their students in it. Right. So imagine you run a ceramic studio and you've got 50 kids that are in 8th grade that are coming to your workshop to do things, right? To make products, to get things ready to put in the kiln or whatever you want to talk about. And you can say, oh no, a prerequisite for your 8th graders to come to my studio and do this is they have to all complete this online course, for safety and process before they start working in the workshop. And so you literally would say, okay, I'm going to buy this course on a LifterLMS website. I've got 50 students. And you could say, I want to buy 50 seats. Boom, it's automated, and it makes its own group for the person that owns that studio. So they can invite the 50 students and they can track the completion for those 50 students, and they can look at the grades for those 50 students, and then they can kind of self-certify or what do I want to call it, like self-audit that that group is ready for the workshop exercise. um, I was a long talk about ceramics, but that's like that's how that works, right? That whole process is really, really good. And we had a manual process for groups for years. And this new e-commerce version is to me, it's just off the charts. It's so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot better, a lot more smooth. It's just so easy to sell into smaller organizations now that don't use large purchase orders.
And I want to alleviate some tension because we say that there's 6 access plans available for each product. And we say that thinking 6 is a lot. And then sure enough, there's going to be somebody that's like, well, I got 24 versions that I need to blah, blah, whatever. People that are always looking for a way to say no instead of a way to say yes drive me a little bit on the crazy side. So the way that you would say yes to this is you would just create additional memberships, and you would say, this is a membership with purchase options for groups over 100. And then you could have that membership auto enroll into that course product and break out 6 access plans within that membership. You could have a separate membership with a different name and 6 different access plans that still self-enroll into the same course content. So there's always ways to multiply your options inside Lifter LMS. Uh, it's funny because I think that we have all these really cool options, and then because I've used other learning products, it's not like I'm I don't understand like what other things do. So like I know what Podia does, I know what oh God, what's the other one? Kajabi does. I know what those things do. And so when someone says, oh, I just don't feel like there's enough freedom in Lifter, I'm like, you're in WordPress. You can do anything you want in WordPress. You just have to get out of the box and think in terms of solutions instead of restrictions. And so I really encourage that kind of free thought to an extent. I still hold firm on my minimal viable product speech, but we're not going to go into that today. I can see you're doing something with the screen share. Are you getting ready to do access plan talk? Or are you doing
We could. I wasn't. We
okay.
don't. We do.
So let's go with Martin. And that question was from David, and I'm sure we'll see David in office hours too. So if he needs to see that, like really see it, we can go through that then. That's not a problem. I want to make sure we honor our time because we're at 12:30, and I want to make sure we get everyone's questions answered. From Martin, it says, I'm embedding an end of course survey into a final lesson using Fluent Forms Pro. I want to link submitted forms to individual students, ideally without asking them to restate who they are. What my options for the best UX, assuming I could use either Fluent Forms Pro or Ninja Forms Basic. Thanks as ever, Martin. Martin, I'm going to say something you might think is completely counterintuitive. Do they have to be anonymous? Because you're saying ideally without asking them to restate who they are. Are you looking for anonymous results, or are you just trying to get people to answer questions without having to refill out a form? Because what I would personally do, if it doesn't have to be anonymous, and I know that some people think I overuse things, but you can have a quiz in Lifter LMS that's non-graded. So for me, if I want to store the answers, if I want to see the answers, and I want it to be part of the reporting, I ask myself, why would I step out of the Lifter environment if I didn't have to? So you could have the final test, and then you could have, post-course evaluation, and that evaluation would be your survey, and that would be an unscored quiz where people could give you their comments, their results. If you're using advanced quizzes, there's I think there's 12 or 13 different kinds of question types. Match the picture, long form, short form, fill in the blank. There's all those things. And so I kind of encourage people to stay in the system if they can. But you had something else in here that I was looking at. Maybe I read it wrong. Could use Fluent. Oh, I thought it was going to talk about like gravity and gravity view to show them the content that they submitted. But I'm not seeing that in this question. What are your thoughts, Emily? I'm reading this thing through and I immediately went to quizzes, but I know you use forms a lot. So you might have said, no, the form thing's great.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, Martin added in chat too, I want to analyze the feedback knowing who they are. There are some items in all the forms tools that allow you to edit the submission of the email that comes to you when a form is submitted, or what the submission stores as data. And so the data that the student fills out and the data that it submits to you can be slightly different. So the student can ask, what's your testimonial, what's your feedback? And then the form submission includes the testimonial feedback, but it also takes the current logged in user's name and the current logged in user's email and puts it on the response to you. So you can have the data about who they are without them having to enter it directly. Is that kind of what we're trying to do there? Sounds like, maybe.
Sounds like.
Sounds like.
Sometimes we're playing charades.
Like I can show, I don't, do I have, let's see if I have a forms tool. You're talking about Fluent Forms, or Ninja Forms. I've got Ninja Forms here. So if I'm on my contact form, I'm not sure if we need an add-on with Ninja Forms. I do a lot with Gravity Forms, but all the forms have these options. So in our emails, so if we do email notification, I just deleted it. Let's say email confirmation. I hate this little trash can animation that like pops out. If you click it too soon, you're selected on the trash can. But in our merge codes, we can go into WordPress, because if you're adding a feedback form on a LifterLMS lesson, they will have to be logged into WordPress to view it. So we can get the user first name, user last name, and put that here. So user first name, and then maybe user last name, and then user email, as these little merge codes here. And the Fluent Forms would have the same thing. So then you say name, and then email, and then feedback. And so something like this. So this is the email that would come to you, would say their name, their email, and their feedback. But then the form, it doesn't have to ask for their name. So we'll delete this, delete that. We don't have to ask for their email. Delete that, delete that. So all they would send us is a message, and then in the email confirmation, it would say the user email and then their feedback. Is that
pure genius?
Yeah.
I like that. It depends on the complication of the evaluation. Like if you're just saying, hey, could you give us a review of the course you just took? I think that's a very elegant solution with the form.
Yeah.
Right? Because I might be using that feedback in different areas. Like, but of course we could always activate reviews in our course too. So it's WordPress, man. We're going around the circle, right? We could do things a ton of different ways.
Oh yeah.
Leanna's got some follow-up questions in here that she had put in. Now, Leanna was the one that was asking about the start button and the next lesson thing on the bottom of a quiz. So she put, because it doesn't make sense going through the post test again once they have passed. Absolutely. If you're only going to give them one shot at the post test, make the attempts equal 1, and they won't see the start button on when they finish it. When they finish it, it won't say start because you only gave them one chance to do the post test. So that's one thing there, right? The objective is to engage learners in other courses after completing the course. I like that. So that next lesson could be people that like this course also like these 3 courses. People that did well in this course also found taking this course was an advantage. So you could actually make the next lesson almost like a sales page if you wanted to, and have it link and go directly out to other things. It's one way to do things. Basically, the question is if we can have a button in the course end quiz to redirect to the activities page or recommend a specific course. There's not really a way, even with custom development. I don't know if there would be a way to really do this. I guess with custom development you could, but alter the quiz page and the quiz results page.
Yeah. I just did a custom plugin last week for they wanted feedback on results clarification. So like if someone got a question wrong, they could contact the instructor and get some feedback or whatever. But you could add something to that quiz end page with custom development to recommend a specific course. Um, and it could even be based. It's just custom development land, which is more expensive than out of the box. And so I recommend out of the box ways if we can get the use case to fit. Um,
Yeah, she mentions that, at the moment, right, we can only do this by adding a lesson after the end quiz. And the way to do this, the way that I do it personally, Leanna, in my projects, again, I'm always trying to watch the budget for my course creators. So I try to stay out of the box as much as possible. So I might have, you know how your course can have sections. So I might have a section that says introduction, then I might have a section that says learning content, and then I might have a section that's going to say other resources, right? And then in that other resources is probably where I would add that lesson that says, hey, people that like this course like these 3 courses, or just like we had said. But that's, I break it into sections, and then it seems more intuitive for the learner to understand, oh, I already completed the course, I just got to close out other resources, and then I'm done. Let's jump over. Amelia, hola Amelia, she says, do you have LifterLMS in Spanish, in español? You can translate LifterLMS. We don't provide it in Spanish, but you can translate your website with different tools. Loco Translate, Translate Press, WPML, I think it is. There's some other tools. So yeah, you can translate your website into other languages. There's some steps on that. And if you go to LifterLMS and in the top search bin, just type in language or translate, you're going to see a bunch of options and tools. If you go to, and I should probably put this link on screen. I'll type it in real quick. LifterLMS.com. Recommended resources, and then we'll share that and put it up on screen. Here we go. If you go to lifterlms.com/recommended-resource, that's resources. There's an S on the end. I got in a hurry. I screwed it all up. If you go to recommended resources, you're going to see some options that are like vetted by LifterLMS. So that means you could use almost anything on that page and be like, feel really secure that that's going to work out. Martin, nope. Art. Let's see what Art has to say. I didn't even read it first. Let's put it up on screen and just take chances. Art says, curious, is there any data, even anecdotal, to indicate device, mobile, tablet, desktop preferences for courses among end users, or is it all over the place with no general preference? Art, that is a great question. You may have heard the term mobile first design. That's because a lot of people feel that more and more people are mobile oriented. To give you an idea of the frustration I feel in my own life with this very topic, we're in our 50s. I'm married, me and my wife, we're in our 50s. My wife will sit in the living room in a comfortable chair, staring at her phone, telling me she can't see, she can't find, she can't whatever. And the woman has a laptop in the living room right there. Open up the screen and go. But she will stare at her phone and use her phone for anything she can. And it frustrates the wheels off of me because I'm the kind of guy that's got 2 32-inch monitors looking at me right now. I need as much real estate as possible for me to really feel like I'm being productive. I will share, and I don't think this would be data over anecdotal. I just did a very large web project for a company that does a lot of online training for the court systems. I don't want to go too much further to divulge who they are, but we're looking at 5,000 or 6,000 users a month that have to take mandatory training for the courts. And according to them, roughly 65% of the people going to that website are on their mobile devices. So when you are, remember that almost anything made in WordPress now is going to be mobile responsive. Responsive meaning it's going to work on mobile, but your choice of viewable assets and the page builder you choose could have a lot to do with what the user actually sees on the phone. So if you pull your website up on a phone and your hero image is, your hero image is this big on the computer and you're only seeing this much of it on your phone, you might want to scale that image for use on the phone, which most page builders are going to give you the opportunity to see what it looks like in mobile and make adjustments. So I definitely feel that you do need to take the time to make sure that your content displays well on mobile and tablet. I design primarily in desktop and then do my touch ups for mobile and tablet. I know a lot of other people that actually really embrace that mobile first concept, develop mobile, and then make sure that stuff still fills in the screen on desktop. Six and one half dozen the other. I think it's important to address all of them. What are your thoughts there, Emily?
Um, I I think usually I recommend working with tools that are responsive out of the box. But yeah, you can drag and drop or drag your computer screen to mobile sizes, tablet sizes, and full sizes to see how your responsiveness is going. And like Kurt said, if you're working with a page builder, they should all give you mobile, desktop, and tablet preferences. You know, in WordPress out of the box, when you're using the block editor, you don't have those preferences available for mobile, tablet, desktop. It's like you have to design one thing that works for all three, which is why I recommend cadence blocks or spectra, because they allow you to have three separate items. So for padding on left and right for desktop, it could be a certain number. It could be like 400 pixels. And then on mobile, it could be 200. And on tablet, it could be 300. So you can have different widths. Whereas I think in the WordPress block editor right now, unless I miss something, I don't think you can currently set those different responsiveness items. So sometimes I'll put a bunch of padding on a WordPress block and it will look really bad on mobile and I can't change it. And my solution is to install Spectra or Cadence blocks or something like that so that I can have the three distinct options. Because usually on mobile, you want almost no padding, like 10 pixels maybe, because you're working with a small device. But on desktop, you could be working with Kurt's 30-inch monitors, and so you don't want it to go edge to edge, so you're like looking both ways.
It's too far to look to read.
And
You brought up a really good point in your answer, and I just want to clarify something for people that aren't, because there's people that plunk around, and mess around on the internet, and then there's professionals, and I want to make sure that we address that audience in its entirety. You had mentioned you can take the page on a monitor and you can shrink it down. And I just want to clarify, like, let's say I'm in Cadence or I'm in Astra or I'm in Elementor or I'm in Bricks or whatever. There's going to be icons at the top, right? So at the top of the page, it'll say, desktop, tablet, or mobile, and it's going to snap the screen. It's going to snap the editing screen to those sizes. And so a lot of people will say, oh, well, that's how I know that it's mobile responsive. Or that's how I know it's tablet responsive. What Emily said was you can take the screen and you can shrink it down. You can drag it down. And I just want to state from a professional standpoint, that to me is the proper way to view your website because in design, there are things called breakpoints. And those breakpoints are when your page builder or your design snaps to that new size, right? And so in your page builder, you might be seeing 1, 2, and 3 options, but there might be 5 breakpoints where things kind of adjust as you're bringing the page down. And you might want to make tweaks or changes in those breakpoints as well. Because there's a difference between, an iPad mini and an iPad Plus. There's a difference between a Samsung 7-inch tablet and a Samsung 10-inch tablet and a Samsung 11-inch tablet. And so if you understand that as you bring that screen size down, there's multiple breakpoints, you're able to design in a more finite way instead of in a macro way.
yeah, and one thing I recommend everybody do is especially we talked about branding at the beginning, is set a max content width across your whole website that you're going to stick with. So I'd recommend thinking about it for a while, that you want to have maybe, I like 900 max content width, but some people like 1200 if they have wider content. So if you have your lessons at 1200 width, your homepage at 1200 width, it creates a cohesive design feel. That's one thing I see people miss. I'll look at their homepage, it's got edge to edge text, and then the lessons are like really tight. It just makes it feel like you're on a different website on every page.
See, it's more than just the meat here, folks. We give you the whole meal. We give you the whole meal. I've mentioned them before, and I'm going to mention them again. When it comes to design, there is a gentleman called Kevin Geary, who, if you can deal with his personality and his cadence in speaking, has a ton of information. And he has a free course on YouTube about, I think it's called Web Design 101 or something like that. Very powerful course, because for a lot of people just getting in, it talks about things like that, like pick your max width, have standards, and then he gets insulting and he says, if you want to design like a chump, you can do it this way. And when he said that in a very transparent way, I'll tell you that in a lot of ways, I used to design like a chump. So Leanna says, thank you. You've been very helpful. That's awesome. And I love to see Gary having fun. De nada. Don't worry about it. I've been doing a lot with Italian again, believe it or not, Emily. I think Italian's making a comeback for me. I'm even thinking, I really like living here in Kansas, but I'm not ruling out Tuscany.
You're not ruling out Tuscany?
I'm not ruling out Tuscany. You can get a vineyard in Tuscany with acreage and grapes already on the vine for what I would pay for a house in Kansas. It is so tempting to go there. Maybe I do both. Maybe I do winters in Tuscany, because it still gets cold there, but at least it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Here, I just open up my window and get blinded by the snow. And I made the mistake of buying a house with a really big driveway, but not a snowblower. So I definitely got my workout this week. It snowed about 12 inches this week.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. I'm looking at like a $500,000 or $600,000 property out on the West Coast.
Oh.
And so that's like that's steep. We could definitely get a vineyard in Tuscany instead, but
well, for $600,000 on the West Coast, I mean, how big of a tough shed are you going to get? You're going to get the tough shed that has the mezzanine?
No,
or are
it's
you going
just
to get
like
the tough shed without the mezzanine?
Just a 2-bed, 2-bath like condo.
Yeah, I make fun because I was there, and I know the pain. I know the pain firsthand.
Yeah.
What's there? There was something in there. There's another question. I put it off until the end. It's another one from David, and it's more like a process, like how you and I do things, rather than a LifterLMS thing. So I saved it to the end because if there were questions about Lifter, I wanted to make sure we addressed them. But the question is, can you describe the tools used for your live streams and how you would set up an office hours feature in LifterLMS? I think that this is a booby-trapped question, because the way that we do things with LifterLMS probably isn't the way that I would set things up for my own enterprise. And that's one of those like opinion questions. And so one of the things I showed in my personal live stream this morning, when I said, why does every company need a learning management system, is because when I set up a learning management system as one of my normal projects, I'm going to have a CRM tool built into it. I'm going to have my learning content in there. And I'm also going to integrate either Zoom or Jitsi or Meetup or one of these live meeting type platforms directly in my website. So currently, what we do at LifterLMS is we're broadcasting to you right now through StreamYard. So we don't have the StreamYard branding up. We replaced it with LifterLMS branding, but it's not a corporate secret, right? We're on StreamYard. And that StreamYard allows us to broadcast to multiple channels. So there we go, powered by StreamYard. So that allows us to go out to Facebook and YouTube and X and Twitch and all of these things broadcast at the same time. David, understanding the use case is important. So, and use case is one of my keywords, right? So I use use case a lot. The use case for this Ask Me Anything call is, what if people aren't on LifterLMS? What if people really haven't even been to our website yet? We're throwing this out like a net across social media, and we're saying, hey, do you want to be a course creator? Do you have a business that could use a learning management system? LifterLMS wants to at least be in your consideration bucket. And so we're putting it out there. So we're not telling people to go to LifterLMS to get access to this exclusive meeting, right? We're throwing this out as a marketing net to bring people in. So in our use case, we're using StreamYard Direct, and StreamYard's going out to all of these places. Sidebar, you can, this meeting, we could embed in the LifterLMS homepage if we wanted to. There's a short code from StreamYard. You could take this episode while it's playing live, and you can put it on any website too. So you could totally do that. It's another way to integrate directly into your website. So that would work. The office hours that we do is a Zoom meeting. And the reason that we do Zoom for office hours and we do StreamYard for open public talks is because for the public talk, we can't take the risk of having people join the live session and then, Zoom bomb us, because that's the phrase that we used 2 years ago, 3 years ago. People Zoom bomb us with like pictures of naked people and crazy stuff like that. We have the responsibility of broadcasting content out to people in a respectful, managed way. And so we use StreamYard so that we can manage the content a whole lot better than if we had a public Zoom call. The office hours we can do in Zoom because it's a private link. Only certain people get the link to come to the Zoom call. And so we do Zoom in that way. So if you are a Infinity or a Universe Bundle user, you get the invitation to come to the office hours, and we do it that way. In my own LMS projects, I typically integrate Zoom into the website and then run the Zoom calls directly from the website. And so if I had an office hours I do have office hours. I have office hours for the Power Sport Academy. When people come to the live class for Power Sport Academy, they go to the Power Sport Academy, their dashboard, their course, and they sign into the meeting, which is in the website, but facilitated by Zoom. So that's how I do that. What about you, Emily? You have any thoughts on that? Did I make it too confusing in my answer?
No, it's good. I like Zoom. It's kind of the easiest way. There's other ways to do it, but I just like getting people on Zoom because a lot of the world is now familiar with it. But if you're broadcasting, I do have a StreamYard account too. So broadcasting is great for StreamYard, and Zoom is great for webinars and items where you want people to speak or be in a private forum.
I don't know what the stream booth thing is. I don't know if I want to share that because it's got a weird like a @ sign on it. So I don't know what that is. I'm going to let that be. That's priestly loathing in our comments. Emily, if you recognize that and it looks safe to share with people, you could save it. But anytime someone says this is the URL, but take out the spaces, I get really nervous because it could go to anything. Art says, thank you. Your wife sounds like mine. And then complaining the videos are too small. Yeah. When she's looking at her phone and she says, oh, I can't see this, or this doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, it would make a whole lot more sense if you saw it on a bigger screen. That's funny. And then Martin, you know what? I'm going to put this on screen and just give people some advice right now. And it might sound harsh, but this is the deal. Emily and Kurt, I sent a couple of messages via your own websites. Would be grateful for a response. Oh, this is a hard one for me because I am really bad at this, and I know Emily is too. And if you understood how many websites I had, you would almost understand why. we get asked for a lot of advice on a lot of different channels, and sometimes my own website is the most neglected one. So when you send something to me, I don't always get to it immediately. Sometimes it can take me a long time, and the amount of spam that I get is pretty large too. So like I had a holiday giveaway when I gave away a free digital planner, and hundreds, literally hundreds of messages come through every week on it. And so I only go through about once a week, filter out the messages and go from there. That's a horrible, horrible excuse. It's a horrible way to phrase it, but it's real. So I just want to share with you, in reality, that's how that happens. Help at lifterlms.com is almost the easier way to get a hold of Kurt. Um, and I'm on LinkedIn almost every day. If you send a message on LinkedIn, I'll probably see that and get a notification for it. But realistically, on my own, it's like never buy a mechanic's car, right? They say mechanic has the worst car because he's busy fixing everyone else's car. He doesn't get to his own car. It's almost the same thing. Messages that come through my website. I love that you went to my website. I love that you asked something. I'll make sure I get a look at it and get a response to you. But it often doesn't happen as quickly as people wish, just because there's so much other white noise in that space. Is it the same for you, Emily? Because I know you get busy with your site too and all your messages and stuff.
Yeah, I did locate your message right now. Yeah, I've been moving across country to sell this house, so I've been just kind of busy this week, but I can respond there. I'm typing up a message. I've got just limited availability right now due to the move, but yeah, I'll shoot you a message back and with a booking link and everything.
Yeah, and this is the kind of question where you have to have a pretty tough skin too, because when someone asks me to audit a website, I usually open up a video and just create like a screen share video critique, and I give you all the information in real time as I see it, my opinions. Sometimes those opinions, they come out blunt. Sometimes they come out like they don't seem friendly. I'm doing the job, right? Like I'm doing the job, but sometimes they're not the most well accepted opinions. But whenever you're working on the internet, it's one of those things. You have to be open to critique and criticism, and then figure out like, hey, it's your thing anyway. What do you really want to do? I went through that with there is somebody in the accessibility space, and they were wondering why they weren't getting leads through their website. And so I literally went through their website and did an audit for them. And I recorded it like I do, just did the video. And I was like, this heading says this does this picture does this. None of these drive from a pain point response, kind of marketing message. And so I went through the whole thing. And then when I really hesitated, I wasn't going to send it because I thought, oh my God, they're going to get their feelings hurt. But I sent it. And then in good faith, they were like so thankful. They were like, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about it that way. And that is unfortunately what happens with websites. I'm very guilty of it myself. Chris Badgett, who owns LifterLMS, went through one of my sites before, and he said, Kurt, no one's going to buy anything off your website because you're not selling anything. Like you have a ton of information, but you're not selling anything. And then I looked at the website and I thought, in my mind, I was selling all kinds of cool stuff, but nobody was buying. And he was very clear. He said, no, you're in your communication, you are bragging about all the cool stuff you can do, but you haven't answered a pain point or sold anything. And so it's important. The words we choose and the images we choose and the formats we choose all communicate a message. And so, yeah, we can help you with that. One of us will get in there. Works for me. I do it for clients as well. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, Emily, that wraps us up.
Yes.
May the Lord have mercy on you.
Thank you.
All right. Folks, we will be here next Thursday, same time, same channel. It's great to have the questions and the interactivity, and we will see you next week.